are on and live. Carolyn, did you want to run the show, or did you want me to go down the agenda?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, Andrew, if you don't mind.
Certainly. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to the October 18th meeting of the Littleton Community Preservation Committee. We have a quorum in attendance, and we'll go ahead and get started. Our first item of the evening is news and mail. News and mail. Oh, thank you. And have time to print a papery version. Thank you. Is there any news or mail that anybody would like to share with the committee?
No, I didn't get anything.
Perfect. Is there any member inputs? See no public online or in person. Item 3 is town meeting review and amend to vote for borrowing article and blended funds.
Yeah. Okay. So for this one, I had emailed Stuart Saganor on to tell him that we weren't going to do our 3% our surcharge increase at this town meeting. And I don't know what I said to him, but he noticed that one of the articles we were doing was a bonding article, which is the tennis courts. And he said, I'm hoping that you guys know that when CPC must approve any bonds before they're issued. So, and there's a Mass General law you have to reference in your vote. So I did tell the town, I'm not sure if they would have picked up on it. So they did, and I'm looking at the little warrant that we got in the mail, and they did put in authorized by general laws, chapter 44B, section 11. But we didn't do that in our vote. I was just trying to open it. Of course, I can't get it open, but I'm sure we didn't say anything about the borrowing.
Yeah, I don't remember us taking a vote on any bonding.
Yeah, what Mitt has in his minutes says CPC would be contributing $334,000. It was moved by Saul to approve the project in the amount of $734,000 from the CP reservation. Oh, Matt, you can't find it on the town website. Hang on, let me bail Mitt out here. Mitt, look on the front page. And down below, I'm going to call him because I'm going to be taking forever for me to type this. Hang on, guys. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries.
Oh.
The tennis courts are the only thing that you is bringing forward. The lights on all.
Yeah, the lights.
If you go on the front page of the town website and go down to the calendar, you see the calendar? And if you click on the date, on the 18th date, it will show our meeting. And I think there's something you underlined if you click on that. Do you see the link now? I'm trying to bring it up so I can tell you exactly what it looks like, but it's not my.
Here it is.
Okay. Okay, we'll watch for you.
There's Bartlett. Let's bring him in.
Oh, and Mitt should be showing up in a minute.
There's Mitt.
Okay.
Good evening, Bartlett.
Hello.
And I believe Mitt is on as well now.
Yep, I'm here. Thank you.
Good evening, Mitt.
Okay.
So we were just.
So we were just at the number 3. Yeah, Andrew's kind of doing this, but we went through there was no input or anything, so we were at number 3, the town meeting review and the amended vote. So, I'll start over. So I had emailed with Stuart Saganor over another item, and, I had mentioned the tennis courts that we were borrowing, we were gonna bond part of it, and he made this note that we have to know that the CPC has to approve the bonds before they're issued. And there's a Mass General law that we have to reference in our vote. And the town also had to reference in their vote, which they do. It's in the, if you've seen the booklet that got sent out, they do mention it. But the vote, I was just reading it to the committee, is we just simply said, we approve the amount of $734,000 from the CP Recreation Reserve Fund. So what we really need to do is revote that to show that we are going to borrow the 334. And actually before that, what we're going to have to do is the 400,000, we're accepting it from the overlay. So we need to vote in those blended funds, vote to accept those. And then in our vote on the tennis courts, we need to say that that's where it's coming from. Let's see.
Well, it's still just it's coming from the reserve fund. There's money going in, money coming out.
Right. So the town has 2 articles. Article 9 is bringing in the 400,000 from the overlay reserve into community preservation. And then Article 10 is using that 400 for the tennis courts. But I think that we need our votes to reflect that as well.
Okay.
Does that make
And then
sense?
Yeah, the only question I have is approving the bond. I mean, it's fine for us to approve borrowing in advance, but that almost sounds to me like do they want us to approve the bond once it's selected or ready for release? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, I don't know. And I was trying to look back to see like what the last project we bonded was and what, I don't think we've ever done that. I don't ever remember doing that.
Yeah, Carolyn, I don't think like in any large land purchase, we've ever approved the bonds for those, because those have surely, like not Cobb, sorry. Yeah.
Williams would be the most recent.
Yeah, Williams. I don't remember us actually voting on a bond after it was approved at town meeting. But
yeah, I agree. The way he wrote it, it's a little must approve any bonds before they're issued. If this procedure isn't followed, you will not be able to use CPA funds to pay the debt service on that bond. So I think at least to cover ourselves, we should change our vote so that at least, because the way we have it now, it's really not. It says the CPC will contribute $334,000, and then it was moved that the project in the amount is $734,000. So that's not really that clear either now that I read it.
Shall I make a motion to rescind that vote and we can start over?
Yes, please.
All
Yeah,
right.
that's from 9/20/23.
All right. And I make a motion to rescind that prior vote on the $730,000.
Okay.
second.
it's been moved and seconded. We'll do a roll call vote. Linda?
Aye.
Bartlett?
Yes.
Mitt?
You have
Oh,
to
Mitt, you're on
unmute.
mute.
While I'm getting this, I will say yes, but rescind the vote. Rescind the what and what's the dollar figure?
it's a 734 or whatever that number is that we voted for the tennis courts. I think that's what it was.
Yes.
$34.
34,000. Hey, we just got it all back if we vote for it.
Yes.
Good.
Yes. Carolyn,
Yes.
Sam,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
myself, yes, Saul.
Yes,
All right, it's unanimous.
Great. Who is the second for that?
I was Solomon.
Thank you.
All right, perfect. So now that we've officially rescinded the vote, would anybody like to make a motion perhaps to accept the overlay 400,000 into CPA revenue, and then to further Carolyn, what was the rest of that? I'm sorry, I'm a little lost.
I know it. I wish I could be there. So I think the first part should be just the 400,000. Let me get the words here.
I will move that we accept the $400,000 from the overlay stabilization fund into the CPA recreation reserve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote. Linda,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Mitt,
Which fund is it going into?
Recreation.
Yes.
Carolyn,
Yes.
Sam,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
myself, yes, and Saul.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
All right. So that's step 2.
Right.
So step 3 is to revote the tennis court project.
Can we leave it open and say, approve funding of the tennis court project through a combination of reserve fund and borrowing?
I don't know. After the recommendation, the town warrant. Yeah, it just says, okay, let me see. The town warrant, warrant article at town meeting must specifically say that the bond is being issued under chapter 44B. So no, I don't think we have to say all that, but I think we have to say that it's partially being bonded. I think we should spell it out because they're going to bond the 334. So if we could somehow say that we're going to bond 334 and pay for 400 from the blended funds accepted from the overlay or something like that.
Okay, I will make a motion that we approve the funding of the tennis court project using $400,000 from the recreation reserve and $343,000 in bonded funds.
Okay.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, roll call vote. Linda,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Mitt,
I'm a yes, but same thing. Who is the second?
Sam.
Okay. And go ahead, finish that. I'll get the numbers in a minute.
Alrighty, Carolyn,
Yes.
Sam,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
myself, yes, Saul.
Yes.
All right, it is unanimous. All in favor.
Great, thank you. I got the vote. Now, could you give me the numbers again, please, Andrew and/or Saul? Approve the tennis court projects with $400,000 from
the Recreation Reserve, which is the blended funds that are coming in. And then it was 334 to be bonded.
Okay, Recreation Reserve, CP funds, and go ahead.
And then for the second part, the 343,
334.
I'm not gonna get this right. 334 to be bonded.
Be bonded. Thank you.
Perfect. All right, Carolyn, was there anything else?
Thank you for that. It's just housekeeping, but I think we needed to do it.
Perfect. All right, shall we begin our discussion on future funding for Affordable Housing Trust?
Yeah, so I just put this on here because those of you who have sat through some of these meetings with the FinCom, they're not really that pleased with the way we've been, and Bartlett, I'm sorry about all this. I know this is your baby, but about the way we've been handling the funding and just, you know, we voted the allocation and then we immediately just washed that out to the Affordable Housing Trust. I
Right.
know that we just recently received some accounting from the Affordable Housing Trust. Anna Houston had sent something over a while ago when we were trying to figure out the money that was coming in. And I think what we're going to need to figure out going forward is, and what Steve Venuti would like us to do, is to keep the money in CPA allocated to the Affordable Housing Trust, or to the housing bucket.
Right.
And then when you guys have something tangible, to then put in an application for it. And I know that goes against the philosophy that we have been using, but I think we either have to do it that way or we need to come up with some concrete justification as to why we're doing it the way we are.
Yeah, I kind of see what FinCom is looking for. They also have indicated that the Housing Trust having a written 5-year plan with steps and goals and dollar amounts would go a ways towards calming them down on this subject. But I think that keeping the money in the bucket and then the Housing Trust asking for funds for particular projects would bring that procedure in line with the other procedures for the other buckets. So I'm going to have to say that I'm not going to fight FinCom and Selectmen on this.
But I think there is probably, well, one of the things I also heard from them was that they were, I think, less fond of any funding in the designated buckets beyond the minimum requirements because it takes away flexibility.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So essentially, you're required by state law to have 10% of incoming revenue go to the various buckets. In recent years, we've been very thoughtful in how we allocate the buckets. So typically, open space will get 40-something%, park and rec will get 21, I believe, something like that, and so on and so on, based off of need. Some towns will actually just leave the buckets at a bare minimum and then have a large pool of money that the various groups can go after. And I've always found that to be a little troubling because I think having a dedicated revenue source for the individual categories is always a good thing. So you know that you have so much for housing, so much for recreation, and you're not going to be fighting over funds and having competing projects. But
So would that be the undesignated?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just
You just leave,
get lower.
right,
Yeah.
designated would be large and you would pull from that.
I mean, to me, this sounds like the select board trying to micromanage the Community Preservation Committee, and it really rubs me the wrong way. I mean, committees across the state vary considerably from doing just 10% to, I believe it's Cambridge puts 70% into housing and only 10% in the other buckets. And they do that as a policy. So, or they did when last I looked at their figures. So I don't see why we should take dictation from the selectmen on a policy that's worked well for us in the past.
I do agree with you there. I do feel in some ways they are kind of dictating to us. in this whole, process now of capitalization going through here, I do feel like we're being a little bit dictated to. But it is hard to justify from our point of view as to why, just giving, I'm using air quotes, you can't see it, giving the funds to you every year when there is, for us, we realized what you were trying to do is build up a bucket, but could you just leave them with us and then?
Sure. That would, it's going to involve a month or so delay from a housing meeting to a CPC meeting.
Well, we can always change our tune if we want. This is just kind of, like I say, just kind of a preliminary discussion.
Town meeting.
Yeah, this is Mitt. I was wondering, because as I'm typing up the minutes, it seems I'm kind of conflicted because I'm hearing Bartlett being very reasoned. You said earlier that you were inclined to follow their recommendation, but after that you said it's impractical, it's not reasoned, and it rubs you wrong. I didn't write rubs you wrong in the minutes, but
Yeah.
But if we do nothing, is it like Carolyn said? Does it lead to further discussion in the future? Do we have to do it tonight?
Mitt, if I could clarify what I tried to say, I was willing to follow the select board direction and the FinCom's direction to leave housing money in the community preservation housing bucket until the housing trust has a specific need for it, and then we'll come to you with an application for a particular project. But it's the policy that, they're trying to dictate that how we allocate our funds between the different buckets, and that's what rubs me the wrong way.
Oh, I didn't. So I agree, but okay. Can somebody clarify for me what is being asked? Then are they saying
nothing? There have been a number of comments. I would say I don't know that we've been specifically directed to anything other than they are looking for long-term plans from the various organizations, Affordable Housing Trust, Park and Rec, others. But I don't think there was a specific direction. There were a number of comments, I think, that are being shared
okay. So
feelings
I'll say
impressions we've gotten from the FinCom select board.
So Bartlett, the upshot of allocating the money to housing in the bucket, but not transferring it to the Affordable Housing Trust, means that you lose some autonomy. Once it's transferred to the Affordable Housing Trust, that's it. The Affordable Housing Trust can do whatever they want. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I'm just pointing that out, that this would be, a layer of, not oversight, but input, into your projects.
Well, the housing trust is very specifically limited to the Community Preservation Act rules on how money is spent on housing, on the acquisition and support and all, those different words that they use. So I think the only inconvenience for the housing trust would be that if we come up with a project, we'd have to wait, some short length of time before the Community Preservation Committee met and could approve it.
I think, Bartlett, it might even be a longer wait, because if Affordable Housing Trust really has to jump on a project, if you submit an application to the committee, you're going to have to wait for the next town meeting, essentially, to get that approved, and then wait for the funding, I would imagine, under a regular model.
Agreed. It might be just as simple as making sure that we could at any point ask the Affordable Housing Trust for their balance sheet and see what's gone in and what's gone out. If there are things that are allocated, I think that's one of the frustrations from the finance committee is that they are, and I've been asked from other, I think the select board even mentioned it too. I don't think they know what you're doing. I think you have a little bit more visibility now, like we all do.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just that, maybe it's just having a better accounting and having that, more readily available to people who ask for it.
Well, we do get quarterly reports from the financial office of, what our balance sheet is. So we have a fairly good idea of what we've got.
Okay, well, that's good. See, we'd asked for that, in the past and we hadn't gotten that.
Okay.
So,
All right, when I get home, I can forward it to you.
yeah, and maybe it's just keeping better touch with your committee too.
Yeah, I think my thought would be that, I mean, as I understand at the moment, you have a fairly significant balance in the trust.
Right.
So you still got a fair amount of flexibility there. For the short term, we could probably keep the funds in the CPC reserves. I think as you burn down that balance, we would want to return to having some amount of funding, and maybe that 5-year plan or just a budget of, what the annual typical spend is that we would, maybe it's the rent support or some other piece that is predictable that we could put into an annual transfer. So it keeps some money in your trust and some flexibility of funding, and then larger long-term projects would be funded out of reserve.
All right. And we do have a substantial balance sheet. It's, close to $1 million. It's 990,000 or something like that. We've spent a total over the 3 or 4 years that we've had it for rent subsidy. We've spent a total of $90,000 on rental subsidy, and we've spent $200,000 to be part of the purchase of the Mary Brown property on Tehadawon. And we're in the process of acquiring from the select board a parcel of land there to build some housing on. That was part of the deal. So those are the major expenditures. And we have been accumulating money. We expect to be the legal owners, this week or the next week of the Durkee farmhouse down near the train station, and that's going to require some money. I don't know what. I mean, the renovation of it is going to be very expensive, but what kind of a deal we're going to make? I mean, we could get Habitat to do it. We'd pay Habitat something, but there are other developers that we could talk to that. So we don't know what that's going to cost, but it's going to be substantial.
And Bartlett, there's also the remaining, the Cooper Farm.
Yep.
Remaining permit that it's out there. I don't know how it's going to be disposed of, but, which would be, the theory would be that we would pay Habitat to build the
Right.
there.
Right. That's a possible building site. The Mary Brown property is a possible building site. I'm anxious to get going on the Durkee farmhouse because I don't want it sitting empty.
Thank you. All right,
So
and all of
Carol,
your money.
Oh, I'm just saying, is there any action that we need to do today, or is this something that we should go back and forth with the Affordable Housing Trust, or what do we need to do?
I don't think any action needs to be done. I just wanted to kind of put it out there because we heard so many comments about it, and people had approached us. So I think I just wanted before the budget season starts ramping up that we kind of had a plan in place, or I guess a plan in place to, for any questions that come our way on it. But just starting discussion. I don't think we need to even decide anything tonight. But we will have to once, what are we, like in, what's it, February or so, when we start having to vote the allocations. I think that's when we'll have to really, figure out what we want to do. And the projects, before projects for a May town meeting.
The other thing that I think there was a relatively recent addition, sort of on a related subject, you can have a conservation trust as well.
Conservation trusts.
As a bucket?
Yes.
As a pass-through, so conservation can have a trust fund to use without having to wait for town meeting.
Yeah, Acton has that exact model actually, where they put money in similar to what we were doing for the Affordable Trust. And then if a piece of land does come up, you can immediately spend the money because it's pre-authorized.
I don't know that we would, I was thinking more for, the small projects, boardwalks and things that rather than needing to come for.
Well, and
everyone,
there's also the costs involved with the CRs. Like there's a parcel on Newtown that's gonna have an, 8 or 10 acre, and they don't want to accept it unless there's money for the recording of the, restriction. And, it's usually, I think the thing I've heard is like $10,000 or $15,000. And if there was a bucket, that could just go,
That's a good point, yeah, because baseline documentation, legal defense, there's so many different things that a CR requires these days that they really need an endowment to get them started.
Oh, the things you could do with 3%.
Budget season or something.
I like that idea for boardwalks and things like that.
Just, small project, that was one thought as a small project. I'm not sure, I don't think we would.
is the boardwalks they're building, in Browns Woods, is that CPC project? I mean, there's tons of boardwalks.
Town forest.
Yeah, those are all, well, for the most part, there were quite a few that were paid for with CPA monies. But yeah, it's a great source for funding, but if we could take the red tape off and perhaps paying for those and other projects, that would be great.
Goes a bit against what FinCom is directing, but.
We should have a 5-year boardwalk plan.
Right, well, or kind of a rough annual budget, and we can put that in ahead of time, and we don't have to approve every project as a.
Put it on your 5-year capital plan, which is the new banner for Littleton.
Going on the plan.
Put it on the plan. All right, well, again, another indulgence, but thank you. So Bartlett, we'll work that out in the next,
All right, thank
for
you.
the next budget cycle.
Thank you.
I haven't heard any projects coming in. Of course, we have a few months. I'm sure they'll start pouring in after the first of the year. So the minutes, we kind of got it. Well, I think everybody got their hands slapped because so many people were way behind on their minutes, including us. So I've sent 5 of them this year, and some of them go way back. We had November 16th, which I couldn't find anywhere where we had ever approved those. And we had January 18th, and then May 1st, June 28th, and then the last set, which was 9/20. I don't know if anybody remembers that far back, if you have any questions on it.
Most of those are before my time, so I didn't pay attention to them, so.
I looked through them, I didn't see any issues.
So Carolyn, I read through them. I had one or two edits on a few of them. They're all minor, but some of them, for instance, had incomplete phrases, like just the beginning of a sentence and then it stopped. So I would suggest that I send Carolyn my edits. They're very minor, and maybe the committee could just accept them with these minor edits. I mean, I don't know if we need to go through the minor edits tonight.
Yeah, it's just like grammatical stuff.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I didn't correct any of that, so.
Well, no, what wasn't really grammatically. You want me to show you an example? Let's see. I have to find one that, let's see.
Ugh.
Here, June 28th. So I don't know if anyone has them in front of you, but when we're talking about 300 Kings, oh, well, let's see. What is this about? Anyway, there's a sentence here. Mitt asked about partners in the project. Oh, this is for the tennis courts. All right. So Mitt asked about partners in the project. Is there any private or group funds? A group effort to raise funds. Didn't this happen with the new track construction? Then it says Saul pointed out that, and the sentence ends there. So maybe you could just delete those phrases that just end in mid-sentence. So stuff like that, I could just send them to Carolyn, and I don't think the committee really needs to discuss these.
I'm willing to accept them
If
as.
it turns out to be anything substantial, oh, sorry. Yeah, if it turns out to be anything substantial, I'll just not submit them. But I can't,
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
Okay,
Yeah, they're
I'll
not
make a motion to accept the minutes as printed and amended or edited by Linda.
Oh, I do have one other point on the 28th minutes. I'm just looking at the roll call votes for a few of these, and it looks like there are Ys next to a few names and then nothing on other names. So you'll have like Y Anna, Y Saul, and then Sam, Bartlett, Carolyn, Linda with like no vote designation.
Does it say then like 6-0, or does it not?
No, it doesn't say anything actually.
I can rewatch the minute. I can rewatch it and see. I don't remember anyone ever voting no.
True.
It's either if they were there, it was, there's not been any no votes since I've been here, so.
And then the only
Yeah, I
other-
can look those over. I can look back at them now that they're recorded.
I think I was actually at the May 1st meeting, at town meeting, but I was recused like off in the corner, but there. But other than that, they're good to go.
All right, I will revise that motion. Approve the minutes as edited, amended.
Do we have a second?
A second.
All right, roll call vote. Linda,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes,
Carolyn,
Yes.
Sam,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
myself, yes, and Saul.
Yes.
All right, it is unanimous.
What about Mitt?
Oh, Mitt's
We
Mitt had
lost
to
our
leave
minute
early.
taker.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. Mitt was doing the minutes.
That's all right.
Yes.
I can go back and. I wrote it down. I'll finish them up when he sends them to me.
All right, so I guess that just leaves scheduling our
thank
next
you.
meeting.
Yeah, so the next would be November. Let's see, November 15th.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right, everyone. Thank you so much.
Feel better, Carolyn.
Yeah.
I will. I'll be better by the next time you hear me.
I think I have COVID now that I've been hearing.
Oh, no.
Carolyn.
You've been exposed. You can all stay home from work tomorrow. How's that?
Ooh. So,
Motion to adjourn? Is that what we're looking for?
yes. Do we have a second?
Yeah.
All right. One last roll call vote of the night. Linda,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Carolyn,
Yes.
Sam,
Yes.
Jess, myself, yes, and Saul.
Yes.
All right. That's a wrap, everybody.